Hello students, how are you? So as you all know that we had already completed down the first two chapters of civics, so that chapter is definitely related with the democracy. From the previous chapter you came to know about the word democracy. So in this chapter we are going to discuss down the process at the further extent. So we are going to start the third chapter, that is representing the institutional representation of democracy. As you have already discussed down in the previous chapter what is democracy, and for maintenance of democracy an election process is going on, and in this chapter we are going to discuss down those election process and the coalition government or different political parties in detail. So starting up with the chapter, so as you all know that election process or electoral process is going on, and that process is possible when there are number of political parties are present in India. And if we talk about like one political party is there any purpose of conducting that much method of voting system? No, the method is not beneficial at all, because we don't have uh, another party, we just have only one party, so we can, no opposition party will be there, so how we can make a choice from the one? Okay, so the election, for the proper conduction of election, different political parties are mandatory to be there. So moving further, the first topic which we are going to discuss down is universal adult franchising. So what is universal adult franchise? As democracy definitely means equal rights, or every citizen must be equal before the law, equal voting rights must be given, equal place must be given in the society. And if I talk about the universal adult franchise, there is a meaning is given. The universal mean all, and if I talk adult, a person who is above the age of 18 years, and franchise means right to vote. And if we collectively make it all in definition, so what does universal adult franchise focus on? The universal adult franchise focus on the right to vote of a person who is above the age of 18 years. In India, every person who is above the age of 18 years has the full right to vote. But if I talk about in the ancient India, it is not going on in the ancient India. Mainly the women are not allowed to vote, but nowadays it is being changed. So how it is being changed? During 19th and 20th century, if I talk, the suffrage movement was conducted by the women. So the movement further, the completion, after the completion of the women movement, what the women demanded? The women demanded, with the help of this movement, right to vote for women as well, because and the ancient India, the women does not get the equal treatment as the men get. Just to get the equal treatment, or just to get the right to vote as well, they started this movement. So after that, definitely, as we discussed down, she got the right to vote. So similarly, the equal right to vote for both men and women will going on or prevailing in our society. So every individual who is above the age of 18 year has the right to vote without any discrimination of caste, color, region, religion, gender, or the creed. Okay, so every person who is above the age of 18 year has the right to vote at any point. So just look at the extract which is given here. What you have to do, as we had discussed down in the previous chapter as well, firstly you have to read down the extract. The extract is related with the universal adult franchise in India. Firstly you have to read down the extract, and after that answer the question which are given below. Three questions are there. How has universal adult franchise affected our country? How it has affected our country? Definitely, universal adult franchise traditionally marginalized group to take a democratic route toward empowerment, or we can able to say development. Okay, both are correct. Which constitutional provision protect the interest of SCs and ST social? It is representing to the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. The constitutional provision of reserving seats for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes protect their interest. And moving further, the last one is who believed that universal suffrage was an absolute necessity. B.R. Ambedkar and other founding father believed that universal suffrage was an absolute necessity. Definitely right, equal right to women, to give to the women is also very much important. So moving further, the word meaning of word universal adult franchise is clear to and men, and whether that person is men or women, whether he is rich or poor, whether he is educated or uneducated, all the people have a right to vote. But the condition only applied, the age limit which is given here is definitely above 18. A person who is more than age of 18 years or of 18 years has the right to vote, and every vote has an equal importance. It is not like the richer person, when the richer person vote it gives the more importance, or when the poorer person vote it shows the lesser importance. No, the right to vote shows an equal importance to all the citizens who are living in the India. So moving further, the next concept is election in democracy. As we had already discussed down, the democratic form of government, or the democracy, India is adopting the democracy. So definitely in the election procedure, democracy is going on. Democracy further are of two types. The following is, first one is direct, and the second one is representing to the indirect democracy. Direct, the word is clear na. Directly we are free to take the decision. Direct democracy is a form of government in which people vote directly to make their own rules and law. It is considered as the purest form of democracy and the true democracy as well, because the direct connection is going on between the people and the form of government na. That is the reason it is considered as a purest form of democracy and the true democracy as well. And on the contrary, if I talk about the indirect democracy is dependent on the election or their represented. Or if I talk to you which method is being used in India is using an indirect democracy. But if I talk about the villages, you always heard about the Gram Sabha. That is an example of direct democracy in India. Okay, is it clear to you? So when we talk about election, definitely the election is going on at the national level as well and at the state level as well. If I talk about the national level, that is representing to the central government, and at the state level the state government will be there. In the national level, what happened, the representative are elected by the people for the parliament. Okay, parliament, what do you understand by the parliament? In the parliament there are two houses na. The first is representing to the Lok Sabha and the second is representing to the Rajya Sabha. Okay, is it clear? Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, these both the houses are there in the parliament, and they both are further making the decision for the betterment of the country. And if I talk about the state level, so state level there is a state assembly and the form of legislature are there. The representative are accountable to the legislature for their actions. Okay, so is it clear to you na? National level, there is a national level of government, that is central government. And if I talk about the state level, there is a state government. The national level government or the central government control the whole functioning of the country, and if I talk about the state level control the whole functioning of the state. Is it clear? So moving further, the second which we are going to discuss about, as we had already know, the election is going on in our country. So who conducted all such kind of election? The Chief Election Commissioner of India is the one who check out the whole procedure of election must be goes very smoothly. So the election in India, whether it is of parliament or the state legislative assembly, or both the elections are held every 5 years. After 5 years, the election is going to be conducted again by the Election Commission of India. So the body mainly set up in 1950, and after that free and fair election is going on in our country. So what happened in this, the chief election commission check out the complete electoral process was properly or smoothly going on in India. At the further in this chapter, further we will discuss down the complete electoral process. Okay, so here if we talk about the Lok Sabha, as we discussed the Lok Sabha, so the first when did this Lok Sabha started down? The first Lok Sabha was formed on 15th April 1952, and at that time Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru became the first Prime Minister of India. If I talk to you who is the first Prime Minister of India, so definitely the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru is the first Prime Minister of India. And if I talk about the first Lok Sabha formation, that is on 15th April 1952. Is it clear to you? So how's the party win? Which party got the maximum number of seats definitely win the election. Okay, so moving further, there is a question, when are the next general election going to be take place? So you have to check it by yourself. After 5 years the election is going on, so search with the help of internet when does the next general election is going to be take place. So moving further, we are going to discuss down about the voter list. As we discussed down, the election procedure is going on, but how a person is eligible to vote? A person who is of above 18 year or above 18 year has the right to vote. But if I talk about the voter list, how the voter list who is going to be voted down being prepared down. So how it is going on? The first thing, as you are free to see this picture, so these are voter ID cards. So with the help of these voter cards, the person is able to cast their vote. If the person does not have this ID card, he or she is not able to cast the vote. Okay, so this ID card is also known as elector's photo identity card, that is known as EPIC. Okay, is it clear to you? So if I talk about the ancient India, as you can able to see, here is the electronic voting machine which is used in our present scenario for conducting the election. But if I talk about ancient India, how is going on in the election? As the people move to the polling booth, and there is this box which is put there on the polling booth. People just make down their chit and fold the chit and throw it in the secret ballot. From there, after the completion of that, the ballot is completely locked down, and they will take the ballot for the counting of the vote. Okay, moving further, now a system is going to be advanced, or we are technologically advanced, so we refuse that old method of secret ballot, because that create lot of panic and it is very much difficult to count that much voting system. So now we are moving towards the technology that we started using the electronic voting machine, that is known as EVM. So how this machine is helpful, as when you look at the picture, so what you are able to see in this picture, here the symbols are being drawn there, and with the symbols the name of political parties are writing down, and this is the button. So whenever the voter goes there, he just has to check out the symbol and read the name and press the button which is front of it. When after pressing the button, his or her vote is completely cast down. So it is quite beneficial for the people who is uneducated, or who does not have that much skill, who does not have the clear sense of reading thing. They just free to cast their vote with the help of the different symbols which are being made on the voting machine. Okay, so after the conduction of the vote, after as I go to the voting booth, I press down the button. After coming back, what happened? The members who are sitting there as appointed by the Election Commission of India, they just put an semi-permanent ink or dye mark on the index finger of the voter to ensure semi-permanent ink means ink that is not permanent at all, but that ink is not possible, you cannot remove that ink before the 2 days. ये नहीं है कि आप लोग वोट डाल के आए और साथ ही साथ आप इनको रिमूव कर दोगे. दैट इंक इज नॉट दैट रिमूवेबल. दैट इज सेमी परमानेंट इंक. यू कैन एबल टू रिमूव दैट ink but after 1 or 2 days when the election is completed. And why we do such kind of things? Because to ensure, like, one person vote for one time, one vote one person philosophy is going on, and if the person tries to vote for the second time, the ink is already there on his hand, so he is not allowed to vote again. Okay, is it clear to you? How did the voter cast their votes before EVM were introduced? As I discussed down, there are ballot books, that is known as the secret ballot box. Before EVM was introduced, the voters stamped their votes on the ballot paper and put it in the ballot box. Moving further, when we look at this, why can't India adopt direct democracy? We had already discussed down, because direct democracy is possible where the small number of people are involved, and India is a larger country and number of people are living there, so to adopt the direct democracy is not possible at all. When are the election for the parliament and the state legislative held? The election for the parliament and the state legislative held every 5 years. What is the identity card also known as? Identity card is also known as elector's photo identity card. As we discussed down, elector's photo identity card, that is known as EPIC. Okay, so moving further, how is voting carried out in the election? The voting carried out in the election by the secret ballot in the ancient India, but now the people started down using the electronic voting machine. What is EVM? EVM is also known as electronic voting machine. It used to cast the vote of the voter. Okay, it used to cast the vote of the voter. Is it clear to you all now what we discussed down? We had discussed down about the election and democracy. Further, we came to know about the voter list. Here we came to know about the voter ID card, and further we came to know about ballot books and the electronic voting machine. Moving further, now we are going to discuss down about the electoral constituencies. So what are electoral constituencies? Like, if I talk about Punjab, the people standing from the Punjab in election. If I talk about Gujarat, the people from Gujarat are also standing for the election. And if I talk about Haryana, some people from Haryana is also standing down from the election. So each and every state have their constituencies. The country is divided into several constituencies for the purpose of election. Seats in the different constitution or constituencies together form the total number of seats in the parliament and the state legislative assembly, as election are held both in the central at the state level as well. Okay, if I talk about the representative elected to the parliament is called the MPs or the members of the parliament. If you heard the word, you must heard na, that particular MP win the election, that particular MP will win the election from that constituencies. That is representing the constituencies, electoral constituencies. And we had already discussed about that in parliament there are two houses. The first is representing the Lok Sabha, that is known as the lower house, and the second is representing the Rajya Sabha, that is known as the upper house. Okay, so the members of Lok Sabha is definitely directly chosen by the people with the help of democracy or with the help of election procedure. But if I talk about Rajya Sabha, that is upper house. Lok Sabha is a lower house, Rajya Sabha is a upper house. So definitely Rajya Sabha is upper from the lower Sabha na. So if I talk about Rajya Sabha, there are maximum members in Rajya Sabha is 250. Out of that, 238 members are to be elected, and those 238 members are elected by the members of legislative assemblies of various states, that is formed with the constituencies. Okay, and if I talk about the other 12 members, that is directly nominated by the president. Nominated means directly nominated by president means प्रेसिडेंट के पास इतनी अथॉरिटी है कि उसे जो पर्सन कैपेबल लगते हैं, हुज पर्सन ही थॉट इज मोर कैपेबल, तो वो क्या करता है, उसे डायरेक्टली नॉमिनेट कर देता है. इज इट क्लियर टू यू ऑल? Okay, so moving further, here is one more brainstorm which is given. Why is it important to register the birth of a child and death of a person? Why it is that much important? When we register the birth of a child, we can able to say the advantages of registering the birth of a child. Admission to school is possible, right to vote is possible, he is eligible to get employment, he obtained the driving license, he obtained the passport. And if we want register the birth certificate, or if we want register the birth of that person, definitely we want to get the birth certificate, and school were not able to give the admission because that person is not considered as a citizen of India. Na? We don't know, he does not have a birth certificate, so how we can able to give him the admission? He does not have the right of to vote, because according to the Indian constitution he is not a member, or he is not an individual who is living in India, because no record is there. So he does not able to get the employment, he is not able to get the driving license or the passport as well. And moving further, the second one is registration of the death of a person. Why it is necessary? Definitely the death of a person to relieve individual who is dead from the social, legal or official obligation. Like if I talk, you don't register the death of a person, still he is eligible to cast the vote, still he is getting the driving license, his driving license is working down, each and everything is going on, because the officials does not know na that person is no longer. So along with the birth certificate, death certificate, to take down the death certificate is also necessary. So the second one is just to claim the property. If the person is alive, you are not able to claim down the property, and if you have a death certificate, you can able to claim that property. Okay, so moving further, the second one is electoral process. As we had discussed down, electoral process, election is going on, a proper electoral process will be there. So what is that process? Just look at here, the table presentation is given down. Firstly, what happened? Election Commission of India announces the date of election. They announce the date of election, like they gave the date, particular date, anyone that you assumed. Okay, after that the political parties like Bharatiya Janata Party, National Congress Party, Bhujan Samaj Party, Communist Party of India, all the parties which are available in India register themselves to the Election Commission of India that they want to contest the election. Okay, moving further, declaration of selected candidates. Now the Election Commission of India check out their paper carefully, they check out their nomination papers, and whosoever he thought is capable or fill the whole necessities is of conducting the election, they declared the selected candidate from the each constituencies. Okay, so moving further, the next one is filling of nomination paper, as they fill down their nomination paper as well. So the Election Commission check out the nomination paper, and here in the declaration of selected candidates for each constituency is representing like a particular leader is there. Like if we talk about from Punjab, Amrinder Singh is standing down. Okay, so that is representing to the leader of the Punjab. Okay, state representative. Moving further, the declaration of election manifestos. Election manifestos is representing that the manifesto representing that the declaration of election is going on. So whatsoever lectures, campaigns, activities, whatsoever activities you are going to, you just are free to tell your plannings. Like have you heard, if I became the prime minister, I will do this for our country, I will work for the people of India, I will do justice with each and every people. So you are free to convince people to vote you, but before the election, 48 hour of election, the whole campaigning will be stopped down. Okay, the whole campaigning stopped down, and after finally the day arrived when the election is going on. And as we had discussed down, every individual has a duty, a political duty, to choose a deserving candidate, whosoever they think is good for the country, whosoever they think is better for the country. So moving further, as we discussed down, election is not possible with the political parties. In India, there are different political parties. You can able to see in the picture as well, and each party has their symbol as well. People vote them with the help of these symbols as well, or by saying the name of the party too. So what is the main ideologies and goal of the political parties must be properly delivered to the people. And if I talk about US and Japan, there are two party system, only two parties are there. One is ruling party who win the election, and other is considered as an opposition party who check out their proper functioning. If I talk about the Pakistan, Canada and Australia, they are using a multi-party system. Multi-party system means the different parties are available in their country. And definitely if I talk about India is following the world largest democracy. It is also following the multi-party system. Number of parties are there in our country. So the main purpose of these political parties are to win the votes of the voter and to form the government. In the election manifestos, party formulates the policies and promises which they want to implement after winning the election. Like you, as we talked down earlier as well, number of promises are being done by the people. If we won the vote, we will do this with the poor people, we will provide you the jobs, we will provide you the smartphones, we will provide you employment. So these kind of promises are being done by the parties to vote just to win the election. And if they won't fulfill their promises, it might possible people won't choose them again. Okay, so they have to fulfill their promises if they want to be ruling for the next 5 years as well. Okay, there are two political parties in India. The first is representing the national political party, and the second one is representing the religious political party. So national political party is definitely related with the presence in the whole world, whole country, or at least in the 4 or more state. So in this, the main parties are considered down: the Indian National Congress, Bharatiya Janata Party, Communist Party of India, Communist Party of India, and Bhujan Smart Party, National Congress Party, All India Trinamool Congress, and the National Party of the country. And if I talk about the religious political parties who influence is limited to a certain region. जिनका क्या है, influence होता है कि जो हम किसी को अपने when we convince someone, that is representing to the influence. So their influence is just stopped down at a certain region or some particular states, and that includes Akali Dal, Shiromani Akali Dal, and the Assam Gana Parishad, National Conference. These are some examples of religious political parties. Okay, is it clear to you? So what happens? The election is going on, the winning party is being declared down, and the winning party is definitely considered as a ruling party. And what happens in the election? Definitely a party which get more than 50% of vote is eligible to make a majority, or eligible to became a ruling party. Okay, so 50% more votes, to take 50% votes is too much necessary. So look at the question which is given here: in which state these two political parties have the stronghold? Shiv Sena is in Maharashtra, Shiromani Akali Dal we all know in Punjab, Bhujan Samaj Party is in Uttar Pradesh, Telugu Desam Party is in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, Trinamool Congress is in West Bengal. Okay, so moving further, look at the picture here given. Identify the political party to which the symbol belongs. Look at here, is the same symbol you can able to see here? Yes, it is there. So the name of party is Communist Party of India. So definitely the symbol belongs to the Communist Party of India. Is this party currently heading any state government? If yes, then the name of the state. Yes, the party is heading the Tripura. Okay, the state name is Tripura. So moving further, now we are going to discuss down about the coalition of government. Coalition government means when the two parties make an agreement and form a government. like this is not happens every time. It is very much a rare case considered as an. So as we had discussed, down to get down the clear majority, 50% votes are very much necessary. Like in Lok Sabha there are 545 seats. Out of that, a winning party definitely need 272 votes from the 545 seats, so that after that he is able to make a ruling party. But if I talk about the party, as both the parties got a 50% and 50% votes, now it is condition of tie na. So the political parties came together to form the government, and when they make the agreement, that is known as the coalition of the government. What they did in that, they share their responsibility, they share their rights, they share each and everything which is going to be enjoyed while becoming a ruling party. Okay, so here is an example given: the United Progressive Alliance government of 2004 and the National Democratic Alliance government of 1999 are the two examples of the coalition government. A 50% voting was there, so that is the reason they made a coalition. So hope the chapter is clear to you. So what we discussed down in this chapter, we came to know about the universal adult franchise. Universal adult franchise represented every person who is of 18 years or above 18 years, whether he is men or women, whether he is poor, rich, educated, uneducated, skilled, unskilled, he has a complete right to vote, and no one prohibit him or on the basis of any kind of caste, color, creed or sex. So moving further, the next we had discussed down the election in a democracy. So how the election is going on, there is a direct democracy and indirect democracy. We discussed down that India is following the indirect democracy, but from Gram Sabha example we came to know about the direct democracy. Further we came to know about the voter list. The people are using the voter ID cards, and the election commission prepares the voter list. From in this list, the new person who is born in the India will be nominated down, or who is born eligible for making the vote will be noted down, and who is dead will be cut it down. Okay, further we came to know about that in ancient India the people are using secret ballot, but now we are adopting the technology, or we are moving ahead to the technology, so we are using an electronic voting machine. So further we came to know about the electoral constituencies, and along with that we came to know about the proper process of electoral election is going on. Here is the table which is going draw there. So it is just an easy representation of the complete election procedure. Further we had discussed down about the various political parties. These political parties are the reason why they of India following the multi-party system, because number of parties are there and opposition is there. So definitely when opposition will be there, a party will work in more effective way. So at last we came to know about the coalition government. So hope you are clear with the chapter. So after reading the chapter, what you have to do, you have to prepare down the exercise, or you have to complete down the exercise which is given at the end of the chapter, and try to solve this exercise by yourself without the help of any other person.